Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Automate Live this afternoon on Tuesday, second day of Automate here in Chicago. First of all, I am Jana Martin. I am the media production manager here at A3, the Association for Advancing Automation. Right here next to me, I've got Chris Lukey. He is the host of the Manufacturing Happy Hour. Chris, glad you could be here again on the desk today. Max Falcone, he is the Director of Sales Engineering from PushCorp. Max, glad to have you on the desk again.
Thank you.
You've been here before. And then, of course, we have Ryan Boyd. He is the Director of Sales Engineering at Walter Surface Technologies. Super excited to dive in today. Let's start actually with Ryan down at the end. Can you tell us just a little bit about Walter? What do you guys do? Why are you here?
Yep, absolutely. So Walter's been around for almost 75 years now, really focused on bringing high productivity and high performance solutions to primarily metalworking industry. About 60 years ago, it started with sort of advanced machinery for the time, and over time evolved to really a large focus on the consumable side, mostly abrasives and tooling solutions. Again, primarily focused on metal and the welding industry.
Awesome. Okay, and then Max, tell us a little bit about PushCorp for those who don't know yet.
Absolutely. So PushCorp incorporated in 1993. So we are a world leader in material removal equipment. We focus on material removal all the time. So grinding, sanding, buffing, deburring, drilling. So really been trying to coin the subtractive manufacturing term, right? So and we make force compliance devices, servo spindles, buffing, floor standing buffing equipment, belt sanders, and things, everything just for automation.
So we hear that you guys have some news. There is a particular reason that both of you are at this desk together. There's been an acquisition. Why the two companies? Tell us about that.
Well, I think from Walter's perspective, we've always been focused on how can we help our customers work better, how can we help them get more productive, and Walter's core customer has always been that sort of SME metal fab job shop, and like just about every other company out there, regardless of industry, there's a workforce challenge, that a lot of people are facing, and one of the obvious potential solutions is automating certain operations or looking at robotics to support the resources you have in-house and that you want to keep in-house. We embarked on a project at Walter a couple of years ago, really looking at our core customer base and visiting them, spending time with them, watching them work, and speaking with them to understand what are the biggest challenges you're facing today, and then what do you think those challenges are going to evolve into, in the next 5-10 years. And across the board, it was unanimous. One of the avenues that our customers feel they have to evaluate, but are scared to do so, is robotics to help support their operations. And so it became an area for us to start obviously looking at with intent and seeing where there's partners we can work with, be it from a partnership perspective, from joining forces perspective, and we started working with PushCorp more and more on projects that had a lot of really good benefits for the end user, where those cells were deployed, and the relationship kind of fostered from there.
Max, is there anything you would add to that from your perspective on the PushCorp side?
Ryan did a great job of framing it, but from our side, it is a super symbiotic relationship for us, right? So on the Walter side, they are a technology and product company, right? And a lot of pride in there, and PushCorp's a lot of the same way. We're cut from the same cloth. So PushCorp prides themselves in being super agile and quick to market, right? Customer needs a certain something, and we're happy to work with them to produce that. And in these exchanges with Walter, where we've worked on same projects together, they approach business the same exact way as us. So it's just been great.
So you've come together, and Ryan, you were talking about this. A lot of this was based on the needs of the market, what you were hearing from your customers. So I'd love to hear from both of you. Ryan, we'll start with you, and then Max will go to you. Where are the biggest opportunities for automated material removal in the industry right now?
No, I can't, propose to speak with the same amount of experience that Max has, obviously, but we all hear the same 3 Ds, right? Dirty, dull, dangerous jobs. And when you get into the jobs that a lot of our core customer base was doing, grinding metal, cutting metal, throwing sparks, creating dust, obviously it fits that bill pretty well. We've seen, obviously, an explosion of robotic welding and automated welding over the last 10, 15 years. But that was not so visible, at least not within our customer base, for those jobs which are a little less exciting, maybe, than welding even is. So that for us became something to look at and say, this is where our products are used. At the end, let's say, of a human holding an angle grinder. But there's more and more challenges finding people to hold an angle grinder and go to work for 8 hours a day doing physically demanding work. Some of it can be heavy duty, some of it can be a lot more light duty. Maybe it's light sanding, light deburring. But there was an obvious opportunity for not just supplementing human resources, but also helping our customers be able to hit those output targets where, yes, you have people who can do it, but maybe they're only running one shift with the people that they have, and now they want to be able to supplement that production. What we notice is it's not so much I don't have people to do the jobs that, we've sold and then to complete these projects. It's that we're growing, our industry is doing well, but we can't add the human resources to be able to meet that output, so how can we supplement them otherwise? And, obviously, we look at it from the, consumable touches part. In a manual application, there's an angle grinder. When we look robotically, well, there's PushCorp equipment. And so that for us was kind of the overarching trend is not just we can't find people, but how can we find alternative resources to help us deliver on the projects that are in our order book.
Absolutely. Max, what would you add to that? Also, just in terms of changing demographics of the workforce.
Yeah, I think when you look at things like what just happened in California, where fast food's $20 an hour, right, to go work in fast food, it's like, are you going to go grind parts in a hot foundry, or are you going to go work in fast food for $20 an hour? I think the choice there for most people is pretty obvious. And so I think one of the biggest challenges that we see is that a huge part of the market that's available today and the people that need the most help are the small to medium-sized manufacturers, right? When you start getting down into lower tiers or even private enterprise, but it's a 20 to 30 person company. It's not a huge corporation, publicly traded, right? And those people are having a hard time because these plants might be in locations where they're not casting, they don't have huge urban population to pull in from, right? Plus, with the aging of the boomers and these different demographics kind of working the way they're going, there's been a huge push in North America. You got to go to college. So a lot of these trade people, a lot of trade schools have gone out. So I think with all those things kind of coming down, it's ripe right now, right, for automation in industry. And I think the biggest challenge with a lot of things is when you look at the integrator base and the robot manufacturing base, robotic companies are now starting to pay attention and build robot material removal specific tools within their robot libraries like they have for welding, right? So these things within the last 5-6 years have really started to take off, and you start to see these in different platforms. So I think a lot of that stuff is going to help not only push it forward, but also bring more people to the industry that weren't there before.
Well, let's talk about some of the other trends we're seeing, because you were just talking about trends that are impacting the manufacturing workforce and really the macro workforce in general. You started getting into some of the technology there. Max, we'll start with you. What are some trends you're seeing out there beyond the ones we just talked about? And then Ryan, we'll have you follow up on that.
Yeah, so I think a big one that folks are looking at now is the low to no programming type thing. So your scan and plan technologies, as this sensor data is coming out, you've got so many colleges and universities focusing on writing APIs and different things for cell phones, right, that are driving that whole vision recognition genre forward, right? So a lot of that technology is going to work its way into automation and robotics. You've got a lot of companies focusing on these 3D type sensors, right, where a while back they were super expensive, but now you're getting to a point where they're much more affordable and starting to find their way into industry. Simpler to deploy, you got APIs, so different things from that general aspect. I think you're seeing a lot of improvements coming, but then also just the number of people that are coming even out of the high school level in robotics through programs like FIRST and VEX robotics and different things. You've got a lot of people coming out into the industry knowing robots, where 15, 20 years ago that was way more niche, right, than it is now in the mainstream.
That's so cool.
And I think maybe to add to that, obviously I think we, Max and I obviously agree that the AI-driven sort of scan and plan and almost autonomous material removal solutions are kind of like the golden goose, right? It's like the silver bullet that everybody's hoping for, and I think we see a lot of really promising technologies moving that way. But also the promise or the pitch of ease of use of cobots and cobots-like solutions is another thing that's bringing more and more people towards robotic solutions and seeing how those might be able to fit into material removal. There's some applications in material removal, more so the light duty work, because generally you still have a spinning abrasive, you still have sparks flying, so you really want to be careful about what's collaborative as an application versus not. But some of the light duty applications, stuff where it's maybe a human introducing a part by hand, could fairly easily be replicated by cobots. So there's a pretty, I think, big appetite for finding those low-hanging fruit and simple applications where a cobot might be a viable solution, almost as a teaser, or something I can wet my feet with in robotics, and then look at how can I extrapolate that throughout my facility, maybe to the more heavy-duty applications as well. So that's another one. I think it's just becoming more attainable.
Yeah, I love it.
Is there anything we're talking about kind of why technology is kind of driving this. Is there anything on the abrasive side that's a trend that you're seeing motivate some of this right now too?
It's funny, from Walter's perspective, our goal has always been to bring the best quality abrasive products, the best quality tooling products, truly, really trying to bring the best quality consumables, hard stop. And it's easy to show that from a robotic testing perspective or controlled tests, but when you start deploying these more expensive solutions in shop environments that can have a lot of variability from one shop to the next, it's not so easy to show that value when there's a human factor that's always different from place to place. But when you're doing so robotically, as we're learning and as Max knows very well, you really can optimize and fully use the performance of that abrasive across its entire life, which is something that, generally speaking, a human won't do. Won't take it from literally 100% to 0%, but you can do that robotically, and you can do so with consistency. So one of the big things we're seeing is the adoption of more and more robotic material removal really fits well with premium abrasives and high quality consumables, because it allows you to have the best performing cell and the best cycle times and the best duty cycle for everything involved in that cell.
Unless you want to add something to that, Max, can you tell us a little bit about what you have here actually at Automate? You guys have a great booth, a lot of different robots and technologies in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're unveiling our new small compliance device for the small robot market. So the AFD62, we're doing a live grinding demo in our booth. And we also have a hands-on demo that people can actually come and touch and feel and see just really how our technology works and how it can better help you be successful in your automation journey.
It's not rocket science.
No, or rocket surgery, but we're getting there.
I guess I've got one maybe fun question to wrap things up on, because when I think of dull, dirty, dangerous jobs, grinding, material removal feels like it's at the top of the list, right? Like, welding, there's some attraction there, right? It's cool, I'm making something. Yeah. Grinding, you're just removing material. It's literally a dirty job. So my question is then, of all the things that we could have automated before, what's coming to fruition now? Let's give the 101 answer. Why is this all coming to fruition now to eliminate one of the jobs that ultimately, I think of Eric Nieva as a +1 robotics. Yeah. He started his career 30 plus years ago grinding, and it's like, man, I feel like we would have done something about that before then. What's your take?
I think a lot of the technology, while PushCorp's been in business 30 years, I think we were just way ahead of our time.
Yeah.
And the rest of the industry is now catching up. And I think the biggest thing that's happened is that robotic welding has really matured to the point where there isn't a lot left to do, and now it's our turn. But also, I think that as you look at the demographics, and it doesn't matter where you go in the world, I think you're going to have a hard time find somebody graduating high school and saying, Mom, Dad, I want to go grind parts in a foundry, or I want to go sand doors in a factory, or I just want to live in dust and dirt, right? Like, I think no matter where you go in the world, that's probably true.
Absolutely. Well, we're excited for you guys, again, to be here, and we're excited for you guys to be working together now. Again, Ryan and Max, thank you so much for joining us here on Automate Live today. Make sure to go and check out their booth here on the Automate show floor, and stay tuned because we have more interviews coming up next here on Automate Live.